Welcome to the Euro Lounge.
What are we talking about today, Benny?
I'm gonna defend European cars. What are you defending?
I'm gonna defend Japanese cars.
Japanese?
Yes.
Okay.
The JDM market as a whole.
Since when have you liked Japanese vehicles?
I like all vehicles.
Me too.
I don't discriminate.
The podcast is over.
I don't know. There's like JDM cars have their merit. You have to admit.
If you say so.
You don't. So how do you feel about JDM cars?
How do I feel about JDM
Have you ever
cars?
owned a JDM car?
Yeah. So I actually had one of my first cars in Canada was a Toyota Celica.
Okay. Which
I think
one?
It was called the SS. It was a 2004, 2008.
Is that
Look it up.
that's like it looks like a wedge?
Like a wedge 2006 Celica.
Was it
was
GTS?
A,
Is it the
it
red
was
one?
a GTS. Yeah.
Okay, I
You've
saw the
seen it,
picture of that. Yes.
Yeah, so it was a 2006. It was a GTS.
That's a rare one.
It is, yeah.
It has the 2ZZ in it.
It has the
Revs to 9 grand.
ZZ.
Z. Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
we're
and
Canadian.
he has a like 9,000. It has a very high RPM.
So you didn't enjoy
It
that?
was cool. It was one of my first cars in Canada.
Uh-huh.
And I bought that engine for pretty cheap. And I put it in it. I used all my money. I was like, whoa. And I made some money on it, but anyways.
So it didn't originally have that motor in it.
It did. It was blown.
Oh no.
And I got it for cheap. But again, this goes back 10, 12 years ago.
They're not cheap.
And did I like it? I mean, at the beginning, because I was only into cars for like 3 years
Before then?
prior to that.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, that's cool. But
You're
like,
still
once
fresh.
Once you get to now that I've worked on European cars, on cars for so long, I'm like, man, it's like I'm realizing how much I'm not appreciating the Japanese vehicles. Why? Okay, well, you tell me why, and then we'll see. So we'll see. I mean, like we're probably gonna make some comparisons here.
We're gonna.
Let's see if it's apples to apples even.
I don't know if they are. I think they're both cars. In that they're the same.
Yeah.
But other than that, they're very different.
It's always, people. This is people that have passion for cars. They can like whatever they want. Even a PT Cruiser. I mean, if you are a car guy and you've spent, okay, fine, cut it right there. I said PT Cruiser. No, but I mean, everybody has their own path. But we talked in some previous podcasts about the difference.
Yeah.
Why would you choose anything else when you can get a European car at such a low budget? But you tell me more about the cars that why would you defend Japanese vehicles and how?
Okay,
you
so
go buy it.
I've only really owned 2 Japanese cars. One was a Honda Civic.
Keep going. No.
And the other one was a Toyota Yaris.
Yeah.
Both were pretty reliable.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that they were the most reliable vehicles that I've owned.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else has been European.
Yeah.
I think that that's something that Japanese cars have over European cars, unfortunately.
Reliability?
Reliability.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that across the board or on particular models? I'll tell you one thing.
No, I wouldn't say it across the board.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing. If somebody gave me 5 seconds, put a gun to my head, and I said, you have 5 seconds to respond to this question.
Yeah.
What's the most reliable car in the world? I would probably say Honda Civic.
For sure. I think most mechanics would.
Most people would say that. And why do I say that?
Yeah.
First of all, suspension, brakes, the chassis, it's so simple.
Exactly.
That there's not a lot that can fail.
No.
I mean, we're not going to get into, stability on the road and everything else. We're talking about like simplicity.
Yes.
And the engines and transmissions were built pretty reliable. Good. They were designed for longevity. They were designed for that. Not to say that they don't have their issues. I mean, how many head gaskets have we done? How many heads have we replaced on Honda Civics?
Yeah, okay.
The 1.5s, 1.6, 1.8s, all the generations.
Yeah.
So they all have their issues. But again,
reliability, though.
Reliability.
So that's something the Japanese manufacturers, I think, have down pat.
Mm-hmm.
They over-engineer and underperform. So they build it, you know what I mean?
Underperform, yeah.
Yeah, so like they build it to be able to maybe take more beating than it's ever going to see in its life. And that's why you get these super reliable Toyota Camrys that run for, 600, 700,000 kilometers.
I mean, I don't know if I can beat you too much on that because that's pretty true.
Reliability.
But now,
Let's talk about performance.
your performance.
Yeah, let's talk about some
reliability
performance.
is number 3 on our list.
Which cars do you think are engineered better for performance straight from the factory?
Better. Well, better than what? I got to compare it to something.
We're talking about European cars and Japanese cars. Which ones do you think are engineered better from the factory?
From the factory. I would go with European cars by far in terms of everything else. Like, I mean, let's take a topic. Let's talk about performance. Right out of the gate, take a vehicle. Let's not talk about the new Toyota Supra. Once you pop the hood,
It's a BMW.
That's a BMW engine for anybody out there. No, but take a vehicle like take a BMW 335. We love those vehicles. We've talked about them all the time.
N54.
We can even go to the BMW 340s, the newer B58 engines, right?
Yeah.
I mean, those cars are 400 horsepower out of the factory.
From the factory.
Right?
What about the Infiniti Q50S?
The one that we just did a time machine on at 120,000 kilometers. Yeah, I believe we should pull that up, but I believe they're 300 horsepower?
I think there's one that's 400 horsepower. And it's from the factory, 400 horse.
That's the one that has the same
it's the baby GTR motor. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So you saw, people can watch the video that we put out of the timing chains on that vehicle.
the timing chains needed to be done.
So to do the spark plugs, we should look this up how long it takes. I think it's an 8-hour job to replace the spark plugs on that engine.
It's horrible.
Why?
So it's just because they have those cooler things on the top,
exactly. Yeah. So many plastic clips and brackets.
There's so many BMW engines that take hours to do a simple job.
What's a simple job of spark plugs? I haven't met a single BMW that takes 8 hours to replace the spark plugs on. I would disagree with that.
That's a good point.
Certain things. Like, Audis, like there is a generation of Audi.
Yes.
I think it's the
one we talked about last time.
No. There's a particular job on an Audi, and we gotta look this up to make sure that I'm correct. I think it's a 3.6 liter V6.
Okay.
The thermostat is behind the timing cover.
What?
So you pull the timing cover off, you have to take the timing belt off to get to the thermostat.
Oh my goodness.
That was pretty badly engineered, but again.
That is pretty bad.
That was bad. That was like, whoa.
But that's also the same with a lot of even the BMW diesels. The timing chain is at the back of the motor. Mm-hmm. If you had to do any timing job, you got to take the engine out.
Yeah, but you're not supposed to. They're supposed to be a lifetime, so.
But they're not.
But they're not. Okay, fair
or
enough.
even some of the Audi.
Yeah, most of them do.
Yeah, most of them, like even the V8, the
V6s.
The
most
V6s,
of the new
exactly.
V6s and V8s, all the
even the Volkswagens.
Yeah.
The VR6s, timing chain in the back.
That's right. Yeah. Now, that being said, what is it? You put the tranny out in about 3.5 hours.
It's
at
not,
least as a mechanic.
Yes, it's not anything that can't be done. But
that's right.
I do
Why
think
do it that way?
Japanese cars were made for service. To be serviced. With service in mind. Give me at least that.
Would you say that? I would say
You don't think so?
BMW was built with service in mind. Yeah.
You think so?
We specialize in we specialize in European cars, but BMW is kind of like our number one make here.
Yeah.
And it's like talk to any single technician in the shop and they will tell you that BMW is the easiest European car to work on.
Wow.
Yeah. Japanese,
they're simpler though. And here's the thing.
Yeah.
European cars are over-engineered. Do you agree or disagree?
Yeah, well, you said earlier that even Japanese are over-engineered and they underperform.
But
European cars are over-engineered, but they do perform
and they
to their
overperform.
standard.
They go to the peak of their performance. They have very thin margins.
You must have been looking at my cheat sheets.
No,
now you're defending the European cars.
I'm just saying they run at their their peak at premium performance. That's what they're at.
Yeah.
Whereas you can have the Toyota Supra with the 2JZ rated at 300 horsepower from the factory, but really it was making more than that, and it could push way more than that with a tune.
Yeah, a Supra.
A Supra.
Okay.
What?
Have you ever tuned a Japanese vehicle?
I haven't.
So most European cars we tune it in-house.
Yes.
Not to say we don't specialize in Japanese vehicles. There's shops out there that have their own software and their own dynos and stuff for Japanese vehicles. But excuse me, every European car we have a little cable here, and then we can tune it on the go. 15 minutes, not even, and it's flashed and it's done.
And you're saying Japanese
cars
can't do that?
vehicle tuning, it's so much more complex. So much more complex. Why is that?
Do you guys agree?
Well, we'll find out.
We'll find out.
Yeah, right in the comments.
Yeah, right in the comments.
So I'm talking from experience here. Like every single time when we built that 700 horsepower Mark IV Supra, and it was, and there'll be shops out there that's all they do, and they have all the software for BMW, for Toyotas and Lexuses and everything else, and that's all they do. And they say it's easy. Yes, but on a BMW, anybody can do. Go and get
JB4 tune.
JB4 tune.
Yeah.
You get a JB4, and with that little box, you plug it in on your phone. You do anything.
Yeah.
Is there such a thing for Japanese vehicles out there?
Honda.
Is it just as easy as JB4? And what models they do? Only 3 models?
No, I don't think they do just 3 models, but K Series is right now one of the most legendary 4-cylinders.
Sounds like you're talking about Honda.
Right now,
The Honda.
I mean,
Okay.
sounds like you're talking about BMW.
Well, we can do the same thing with the Vacom. We can do Audis just on the fly. It's the same idea. So again, we don't specialize in Japanese vehicles, so there may be systems out there. But, like, I mean, everybody knows what JB4 is. You can
Everybody
buy
knows
that.
what Honda is.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Everybody does?
You don't
Okay.
know what?
Well, we don't do this all the time, so I guess. But hey, we're here debating, I guess.
So
you've done all your research on Japanese software tuning programs, and but yeah, so maybe there is an aspect to that, but I still think that Europeans are easily tunable. And also, I mean, I don't. Is there any vehicles past 2008 in like BMWs that are not turbo?
that's a good point. I mean, outside of BMW, I'd say even like the Japanese market as well.
Most of them rely on turbos.
Even like the
nowadays.
base model Civics, I think, are
Nowadays, up until 2016, 18, there was no such a thing. You'd have to go to the Type R to get a turbo model.
I don't know if that's true.
No?
I think the base model was like a tiny engine with a tiny turbo.
We have a customer that was here yesterday for wiper blades, Frank. And
Oh, yeah?
2018 Honda Civic was non-turbo.
It's not turbo, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I don't know my Honda.
But yeah, maybe I don't know my Japanese. But all I know, and that's you buy a Volkswagen Touareg. Oh, sorry, a Volkswagen Tiguan, right?
Yeah.
Pretty inexpensive. You can buy a Tiguan for a 2012 Tiguan for, let's go newer, for like $20,000.
What do you mean? Oh,
I'm talking like a newer 2018
Okay, the newer
Tiguan,
Tiguans.
low kilometers. At the dealership, you'll go and you'll spend less than 20 on it. And then with a $400 software, you'll just add 80 horsepower reliably. Can you do that with an Lexus? I don't even know my Lexus is.
I don't know if people are doing that with newer Japanese cars. But I do think the Japanese culture has more racing heritage than European cars. So you look back at things like, Nissan was making, a lot of people look for rear-wheel drive manual cars.
Yeah.
Enthusiasts.
Yeah.
Nissan was making those for a long time. As
like
European
300 ZX and
I guess you could say that. I mean, I don't really like those, but yeah, you could say those, like the S chassis. Yeah. So like the Silvias, S13, S14, S15.
It's funny because that's, if you were to talk to my sister, maybe even like if you talk to about, I don't know about my sister, but people that are not necessarily into cars, and you mentioned Silvia or like, I mean, the Skyline.
Yeah.
But there's those 3 iconic Japanese vehicles, and why are they so iconic?
But you know what's crazy? Even if you go to Japan, there's a lot more of those models that we don't even know about. Those are just the ones that came here. So there's things like the Toyota Crown, like the Mark II, the JZX 100. Those are all rear-wheel drive.
Gibberish. Yeah, but that's the culture in Japan, I guess.
Yeah,
that
and
is
like
the culture in Japan.
I think the Japanese market did have a lot of options back in the 90s for like enthusiast cars. They had the recipe down.
Yeah. But it's funny because Americans is what makes those cars cool. Once Americans started bringing them here to America, started drifting in them, started making videos, now all of a sudden they're super cool.
They were cool in Japan too.
In Japan, but now, like, when Americans brought the Supras in America and they started making these, like, Hollywood movies about Fast and Furious, now the whole world, down to South Korea, all the way to Romania.
They love it.
It's like iconic. It's a Mark IV Supra.
It's true.
But it's because he started with Fast and Furious. But now, like, I mean, if you're talking about a BMW 335, you can go to China, you can go obviously to Europe, America, Russia. Everybody knows what a BMW 335 is. And it's not because Hollywood made him popular. It's because it was a vehicle that was inexpensive and he performed very well.
When it worked. When it works. That's the thing, because you can have a Honda. Let's say you have a Honda Civic with a K20 and maybe you have it tuned. Say it's like not even like turbocharged or anything. You can do a lot of stuff in that thing and really beat on it.
K20, so hold on. Let me see. I don't know my specs, but let's talk some horsepower numbers here.
Oh, okay. But it's more than horsepower.
It's more than
power to weight.
It is.
You know.
Power to weight ratios. Actually, I was looking up earlier because we got some models between some GTRs and some of the Porsches power to weight ratios.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about horsepower because that's what every young lad out there knows what horsepower is. It's like a K20. Like, I mean, if you're pushing 240 horsepower, you are king of the road.
Yes.
And the sound that comes out of that.
It is pretty wild.
It is wild.
If you're getting 240 horse out of a K20 in a Civic, that thing's going to move. It's going to be pretty quick.
Yeah, because the Civic. Yeah.
Because it's a Civic.
Yeah, because it's
mind you, if you put that thing up against a Tune 335,
yeah,
obviously it's going to be
not even the same game for sure.
It's not the same
and
game.
the funny enough is how much money are you going to spend to push 240 horsepower in a K20?
You do have a point with that. Because the Honda parts do get very expensive.
They do, yeah.
And it's naturally aspirated power. That's the other thing too.
Yeah.
You have a Tune.
Yeah.
You just get the JB4 and you're pushing 400 horse.
Yeah. How much? 200 horse?
No, I'm saying for the N54, you just get a Tune and you're going to be able to push 400 horse.
That's right.
With
exactly.
the JB4.
Yeah,
so it's like
you change a charge pipe, you put some down pipes, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the sound, I mean, I'm not like, I don't like that when I hear the VTEC, like when that
you're not a VTEC guy, eh?
Oh no, the loud
man.
that comes out of it, the noise that comes out of it. And because we've been working on European cars, for $1,000 you're pushing nearly 400 horsepower. It's like, and the sound that a twin turbo vehicle makes inline six, such a well balanced engine.
That's true.
On startup, could you disagree that sound of a nicely tuned but okay, maybe it's not the same class, but the BMW 46 M3.
Yes.
So the way that vehicle sounds with a little pinhole before the mufflers,
it
sounds so unique and so luxurious.
You're right.
And then you go and spend $5,000 to make a K20 scream like a chainsaw. So I'm not beating on people that like the K20s, and good for you. It's just like I'm saying, the sound dynamic here is like, it's out of proportion.
Have you ever driven a strung out Honda Civic and really ran through the gears?
Why do you got to do that? Oh my gosh. Oh, just for the Fast and Furious 2 appeal? Just like bam, bam.
Okay, I would argue to say
Yeah.
that you could have more fun in a lower horsepower Honda Civic than you can in a 400 horsepower.
Why do you say that?
Usable power. On the street, usable power.
BMW 335 spools at like 1900 RPM.
Yeah, but like by the time you get into third gear, you're already going to jail.
I see where you're going with this.
So you, as an enthusiast,
now
you can
sound
have
like my mom.
more fun. I'm sorry. As an enthusiast, you can have more fun on a regular basis, just banging those gears. But you're not going up. Like you might touch 160.
I don't think I accept that as an answer, but okay.
Man.
I mean,
you know what I mean, though.
Do you know? Our race car has a pretty expensive lockout shifter, right?
Okay.
But we have some cheaper ones, like even Amazon $400 BMW
chassis mount
E90
shifter
chassis that are so firm.
Yes.
When you shift that, it feels like you're driving a sequential gearbox. Would you agree with me? You've been in it, like you've tested them, right?
Yes.
You take that $400 shifter. We sell them, by the way.
Okay.
And then you go through gears on that thing. You'll add a $600 tune. And then you drive that 400 horsepower 335 that feels like a sequential gearbox. And then you're going to jump in your Honda Civic with a sloppy shifter.
Okay, no, it's not a sloppy shifter. Yeah. Come on. Like, okay, at least a proper shifter in the Civic too.
1 point for the Eurocars.
Oh, okay. Man, I don't know. I don't know.
So I don't even know if I would compare those things, but let's move up a little bit. Let's take it up a notch. And for people out there, we keep mentioning the 335s, and we're going to mention the 335s all throughout our podcast because they are our
bread and butter.
And the N54 engines, give it 10 more years. It's already the next 2JZ engine.
Wow.
Like, we will talk one day about the 6-bolt crankshaft N54 engines, the later models. I mean, that's a bulletproof engine. We're building them 1,000 horsepower.
Over the B58.
B58 is... B58 is a
untested?
lot newer.
Okay.
It's a lot different. It's N54 is a classic that came out in 2007, and now there's a dime and a dozen. Everybody, like we
You can
have,
have
so many people have them. You can buy a 335 N54 for $1,000 for parts.
Yeah.
You can take that engine. B58s are a lot more expensive. They're a
They
lot
are.
newer. So,
They are.
but going back to like, you buy one for $1,000, you get it running, and you have a 330 horsepower with twin turbo setup.
Yeah.
That's why I mentioned that.
If you can get it running.
You bring it to us.
If you don't, you can bring it here. Bring it to Euro. We'll get it running.
No, but and again, we mentioned the 335s a lot. Is because we love those cars here. But for everybody out there, that's like a Mercedes C300, even though those are not turbo. But you can go to a Audi. The Audi fanatics can look at the A4s. The
S4s.
or the Volkswagens. You can
The
go into the
Golf Rs,
Jettas
yeah.
or. But we like our 335s in terms of BMW.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're fancy enough to have a Porsche 944, good for you.
944. That's an interesting choice.
I mean, I've seen some cheap ones out there, non-turbo
Really?
automatic. Yeah, but
But
it's front
non-turbo.
No, it's not a
automatic.
Porsche.
It's not really a Porsche. Four-cylinder.
I hear you.
That's another story.
That's another story. But going so now let's take it up a notch.
Yeah, let's talk.
So
about
Honda Civics, okay, most young guys get into Honda Civics and they tune them and they put headers on them.
Yes.
Now, if you save up a bit of money and you can buy a Silvia, or is that really? We took it out 10 notches now.
No, I think it depends on what you want to do, because like if you want to just like drive a car just to drive a car on the street,
Yeah.
Honda Civic is pretty good for that.
Yeah.
Silvia, I mean, they're more like drift cars. Like that's what people mostly use those for.
Yeah.
And they take them and put like an RB26 or something in there, or another Nissan motor. But I think Honda kind of has the game for like a cheap, reliable street car.
Honda.
I would say so.
Street reliable, like you're talking about like a daily driven vehicle, or you're talking about a
Daily driven vehicle that you can have fun in on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Take it all the way up to $8,500 and not worry about
All right.
pistons going
Funny
flying.
that you say that, because we take our customers to the track, as we do this with the people that are members of our Euro Prime club.
Yeah.
We do this. We take them to the guy with the S6. S6 is a more complex vehicle, it's a little more expensive, and yes, a lot more things can go wrong, but I'm talking, I don't think you would have the same fun in a Honda Accord.
You don't think so,
on
eh?
the track when or his Mini Cooper, 400 horsepower Mini Cooper, but that's maybe quite a different level. But if you were to get him the option, hey, I'm gonna give you a 400 horsepower Silvia or a 650 horsepower S6 to go around the track, I don't think he's gonna blink twice.
Well, the thing is, the S6 will get around the track fast.
Oh, will it ever?
The Silvia will slide around the track.
Yeah, and it could be fun. So
Cost and value.
Cost and value.
I'd love to see you argue this, but I don't think you can. Japanese vehicles hold their value way better than any European car. Prove me wrong. Unless you buy an investment like a beautifully clean BMW E10 turbo, like the 2002 turbo, or I don't know, an old Alpina. Outside of those super collector cars, I would say that any European car instantly loses thousands upon thousands of dollars.
There, I couldn't disagree too much, but it's not just the E10 chassis. I would say name an M chassis that has not kept its value.
Okay.
Mind you, I mean, I guess if you take the E92 M3 now, they're about 35 grand.
Yeah.
Brand new, they were a lot more than that. They've gone down in value, but most of the M's go down in value at first, and then they reclaim.
And then they reclaim their value.
Yeah, their value later.
That's a good point, though.
So I think all M's
hold their value.
hold their values. In terms of Audis, RSs, I don't see them hold their value as much.
Not as much, but some of the RS4s do. The B7, I think.
Okay, yeah. Do they though?
They're still like 30 grand.
Yeah. I guess.
I mean, it's like a 20.
I guess the same thing. Like as time goes by, it was a high performance vehicle, well maintained, and
the rarity and that type of stuff.
So,
but even
the
if you
M's. But other than that, I
Okay,
gotta say,
I was gonna say, yeah. Outside of M,
I agree. So
you can buy a 335. Like, for
Let's
you-
go. Let's take this to
Lower?
another notch. No. Let's go
Okay.
to a 7 Series.
Okay, I'd love to do that.
I feel embarrassed just to even think of people like take 7 Series is like we've bought some in the past
Mm-hmm.
that were on average they were $100,000, $80,000 to $100,000 SUV luxury sedans,
Yeah.
large sedans. 10 years later, not even 10 years later, they're worth $10,000. Like you can buy a 2014 750 nowadays for like under 18
Yeah.
grand, and they were $100,000 brand
13
new.
grand, yeah.
Yeah, like
That's embarrassing.
that's rough.
Yeah.
That is rough.
And there's a reason for that.
What's
Can-
the reason? What do you think the reason is?
I think the reason is people don't maintain them and they end up with a whole bunch of problems and nobody wants to deal with those problems.
So I think that people that purchase those vehicles, they buy for it's a status symbol.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a person that's an executive of a company, maybe he will have to by law, by the company's bylaws, he will have to drive, show up on a meeting in a 750
Yeah.
with a chauffeur. Do they particularly maintain the vehicles? So they spend $100,000 or $140,000 on a vehicle. They know they're driving it for 3-4 years and they can get traded in.
Mm-hmm.
Who's gonna buy that? It's not gonna be another executive that buys that. It's gonna be another
Just a random person.
just a random
That wants
middle class person that
Yeah.
buys it, and now they have to deal with those luxuries like the air suspension and all those self-closing doors and everything else.
You're right.
And
They're only
just
good to be bought when brand
new,
Yeah.
they're almost disposable. That's how we see
Yeah,
it.
unfortunately.
Yeah, especially the newer ones.
Disposable luxury.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
Yes. So it is a status symbol.
So what you're saying is owning a European car is a status symbol and that JDM
Not
cars,
every European car.
and that JDM cars are for real enthusiasts. Is that what you're saying?
Nope.
That's what I heard.
That's what you heard?
I-
I'm telling you from experience. I've seen it
Mm-hmm.
firsthand. Those BMW 7 Series, how they're and the A8s.
It's sad.
The A8s. We had a customer. We actually rebuilt a A8L for a
Okay.
customer a few years back.
It's a massive car.
Massive car, and it was custom built, so hand
Oh, okay.
stitched, all the stitching, the leather, everything
Yeah.
was custom order. And it was a 2006, I want to say, and I
Okay.
believe he paid over $100,000. And what is that today? Is that $160,000 today's money?
Yeah.
And custom order. Then I know that we fixed it for him. It was an insurance job. We fixed it for him. Later on, he sold it, I think, for $8,000.
Wow.
Didn't care. He's a wealthy man. He just loved that vehicle. He bought it for his wife, and his wife passed away, and then he kept the car. He wanted to repair it because of that. He had some sentimental value.
Yeah.
But the value
I
lost
know.
in that vehicle. That's
The
a
depreciation is
95%
crazy.
depreciation.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
It's not great.
I mean, why do most executives buy European luxury vehicles?
Because they're better. From
Right?
the factory, they are just better.
Presidents of different countries, you see them driving limousines that are made of on the A8 chassis, or I guess Americans are Cadillacs.
Yeah.
But
But you're in the lap of luxury.
yeah,
It's-
a big executive is gonna show up in a big A8, in a big S class.
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna show up in those Lexuses and stuff. Would you agree with that? Yes.
You answering the
One.
question for me?
Yeah.
All right. So then you have the answer there, guys.
Right. So yes, it is true that those cars depreciate so fast, but
Yeah.
there is a reason for it, and I think the explanation I gave is actually logical.
Mm-hmm.
It's just people that buy those cars don't look at the depreciation factor.
No, they don't.
They have to.
They have to
They have to
maintain
keep
an
up.
image.
That's
Yeah,
right. They have
that's why
to
they
maintain
buy.
that image, and
Yeah.
it makes sense. That's just what business is.
Yeah.
And then they don't care. It's a complete write-off, and then they pass it on, and
Someone else's
even the
problem.
dealership doesn't even want to deal with it.
No.
Right? So they have to discard it, get rid of it, sell it to somebody.
So Japanese manufacturers make cars to last then.
It's possible. They make them to last.
Possible.
It's
You
we're
don't
getting
wanna
somewhere.
admit it.
I don't want to
Don't
admit
wanna
it.
admit
No,
it.
I don't want to admit it because there's. I feel like what's there to admit is like European. When you buy a 7 Series, you know you're gonna lose 94% value.
Yeah.
but you don't care.
Easily.
Yeah.
But you're not buying it for
But
the
you're not buying.
investment,
That's
no.
why you're not going and buying a Lexus or Toyota. You are buying
true.
a 7 Series as an executive, right?
So that you can have a 7 Series.
So you can have a 7 Series.
Yeah.
Right. The seats go
or
up.
the Jag,
Screens.
or the whatever it is.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if the Jag, they make their XJs, I think they're called. They're really long ones, but they're not. They don't compare to the 7 Series. Have you ever sat in a brand new 7 Series?
It's nice.
I was at the auto show a couple years ago.
Yeah. They got like the crystal
they had
stuff in there now.
ILs.
Screens. Oh, it's really nice.
Seats go all the way back.
Oh, yeah.
Feet up, champagne glasses.
It's beautiful.
Screens all over the place. It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're switching topics here, but let's talk about luxury while we're talking about depreciation. Can you get 20% of these features in a Japanese vehicle? The answer is no.
Oh my god.
Now I'll let you answer it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I think there's a few Lexuses that have some nice features.
Oh, I agree. Some. Yeah.
But I'd say yes, you're right. Most of them don't have a lot of the things that these European cars have in them.
So, I can't say I've ever even desired to see. At the auto show, I would just go past all the manufacturers and stop at the European manufacturers.
So I just went to the auto show a couple weeks ago, and I sat in the Infinities, I sat in the Nissans, I sat in the Toyotas, and I sat in some of the BMWs.
Disappointed when you say that. I sat in the Nissans. No, yeah.
They weren't super impressive.
No.
Unfortunately, everything kind of just feels the same now.
Yeah. And even the more luxurious models, they do not. The diamond knob, the large screen,
it's
when
beautiful.
The seat folds up and all the LED lights illuminating the vehicle, you wouldn't get that anywhere else.
It's an experience. I will say that it's definitely an experience.
We agree.
You're like, I rest my case.
3 points.
Okay,
here.
let's wrap this up here.
Right.
We got some iconic matchups that we're going to talk about here.
We sure do.
This first one is kind of you talked about in the last podcast. You wanted one of these.
Mm-hmm. We had the opportunity to buy one pretty cheap. And
it was yellow, you said.
It was a yellow 996 GT2. So GT2s are track cars that are street legal.
Okay.
The
comparison we're making here, guys, is the Nissan R34 GTR compared to a Porsche 911, 996 or 997, and he's talking about the GT2.
I'm talking about GT2.
Yeah.
So this goes back maybe 7 years ago, 8 years ago. We had the opportunity to buy yellow, very low kilometers, like 10,000 kilometers, GT2, 996.
Beautiful
car.
For
I think it was under $40,000.
Oh wow.
But it was like 7 years ago. We didn't have that much money. I think we were.
But now those things are worth how much?
Hundreds of thousands. Yes, of course. And at the time, we didn't have the money to buy it. And even then, we said, okay, let's take a look at parts if we were to manage to put the money together. And just the carbon brakes alone at that time were so expensive. Even now, they're very expensive. But at that time, when I looked and a brake rotor was used $5,000, like I was... pooping bricks. Just the thought of buying that.
It's
now you can swap out the calipers and put the non-ceramic calipers, but it's not a GT2 then.
No.
Yeah. So, anyways,
I would say a Nissan R34 GTR is a little bit more cost effective to maintain than the Porsche.
What did we do very recently on? Yes. It was a Supra NA.
Which one?
It was a Mark IV Supra NA.
Oh, really?
And it had a very rough idle. And we diagnosed it with the idle air control valve.
Okay.
No supplier had that.
Really?
Toyota discontinued it a long time ago.
It's just 2JZ GE, right?
Yes.
So that's the same thing from my IS300, right?
Well, I don't know if the valve was the same. Oh, I mean,
it should be.
Yeah. We
and
were not able. Nobody had it. The dealer obviously long discontinued it.
Yeah.
We had to get it. We found the suppliers in the States that had it. It was $800. It was an idle air control valve.
Wow.
So, and it's so intricate, so complicated, the idle, the vacuum hose, the PCV system, so overly complicated in those vehicles. I mean, obviously, if you know it, you know it. It's simple.
Yeah.
You go back to 2002 BMW M54, there's no vacuum hoses. There's no such a thing.
Pretty simple.
Very, very, very simple. There's a PCV valve with 2 hoses coming out of it.
That's it.
Very simple. At the bottom of the intake manifold.
That's a very good point, actually.
So they do have an idle air control valve, those M54 engines, the earlier generations. But first of all, you can buy the Europe, or you can find them used, and you can buy new ones for like under $100. Or you can take it apart and clean it. because it's
Yeah.
very simple
To clean.
Yeah, that one, for the life of us, we could not take it apart.
Wow.
Bolts internally, bolts were seized. They were little flat Phillips heads.
Oh, wow.
And they would not separate. And the little motor was like, they had like brackets that was folded over. Anyways, we ended up having to get one, $800.
Wow.
So that was, wow, great. So I guess they're so intricate. There's so many little components, overly engineered for what needed to be done.
I would say 90s JDM cars were kind of over-engineered.
They were.
I would agree with you on that.
And I would say it was very unnecessary. In my opinion, I may be wrong for that, and you can have a point for that.
I do think there's a point to be said with some, like, for example, the R34 GTR. Like, if you were to, I'm sure you can delete a lot of those systems. And there's a lot of modern upgrades you can get for the RB26 now.
Yeah.
And, you can run standalone management, whatever you need to do.
That is not cheap.
Well, that's the thing. Because the R34, because the RB is such a popular motor, I would say that the Japanese market for a lot of those things is massive. So there's so many options that you have. You can get a piggyback system. You can get a standalone. There's multiple suppliers.
Either one of those options are not cheap. But we were talking about when you're talking about 911 GT2 or even the R34 GTR, these are not cars that everybody can afford.
No. These ones specifically.
These ones specifically, yeah.
Which one do you think is the real king?
Is there an argument to be made? I know the Nissan's the R34 GTRs are iconic vehicles, and if I could buy one, just to keep it in a collection, if I had the opportunity to, I might. And I probably would, just because it's an investment almost at this point.
Yes.
But in terms of if I had the option, if there was two cars there and then we would both run to get away in the sunset, I would jump in the 911 all day, every day, any day.
Not the GTR.
No. I have no,
He likes his Euro cars.
I like my Euro cars. On here, you also have the Mark V Supra versus the BMW M340.
Yes.
Again, the exact same point. First of all, Mark V Supra? What power is that Mark V Supra?
I think I read that it's 385 or something like that, which is pretty healthy considering that it's a small coupe.
Yeah.
M340, I think, is rated lower from the factory, though.
Yeah. But what engine's in that Supra?
It's the same engine that's in the M340.
Who made that engine?
I don't know, Benny. Who made the engine? Who made the engine? Why don't you tell us?
It's a cool. I mean, the fact that the Toyota and BMW did that, it's super cool. It's to be appreciated.
It is.
I mean,
BMW definitely has the corner on the market for the inline six turbos. We cannot deny that. You're right.
Okay. Next on here, you have the.
I would say the M340 though is better than the Supra personally.
Yeah.
They can be had cheaper. The same motor.
I'm not saying I wouldn't drive a Mark V Supra. As a matter of fact, when they first came out, I was going to put a deposit on one because they're starting at $45,000, whatever it was
really
when they
cheap.
were. Yeah, it was cool. It's just, I love my BMWs.
Yeah.
Get inside of a BMW in a G20. I mean, the screens and the knobs.
It's
and
nice. The sound it makes when you get in.
It's just fantastic,
it's nice.
right? So for that reason alone, I would choose a BMW.
I would
next on the list, you have the Mitsubishi Evo 9 versus the Audi RS3. Ooh. Again,
I would take the Evo 9 personally.
Why though? You think that outperforms the RS3?
I think it can. I think both of them could. I think both of them could outperform each other.
Yeah.
At this point, it's really just a preference thing.
Yeah.
I'm not a Mitsubishi person. I don't even like Lancers, but the Evolution 9, absolutely love.
It's an iconic car. I would add it to my collection.
Okay.
Yeah, and one of our customers is bringing one soon. He just bought an Evo 9.
Wow, you guys are going to see that on the channel.
But again, I'm a European guy, and I don't even see why you would buy an Evo 9 over the RS3 in terms of performance, but I will let you have it.
Okay, the RS3 has one more cylinder. I'll give you that. So it probably has a little bit more top-end potential.
We've built some.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How much
people have seen the purple one on our page, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's true.
We built it, and I think my brother would know more about it. It's pushing over 600 horsepower.
Wow.
And it sounds fantastic.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah. It sounds fantastic.
The 5-cylinder, you can't really...
And just the basic bolt-ons that you can do to that from the intake downpipes.
It makes a huge difference.
It makes a huge difference. And Audi really took took the engine, took it back to the old good
Yeah.
old days.
Yeah.
Like when they built
the
that
heritage.
engine.
Yeah.
They went back to the VR6 days.
Yeah.
So-
Don't get me started.
Oh, okay.
No, but you're
So,
right. And
yeah.
another point to that too. If you were to live with one of these cars every day, the RS3 would be much nicer
Yeah.
on the inside than Evo 9. At the end of the day, a Mitsubishi Evolution 9, a Subaru STI,
And
they're still just economy cars on the inside.
yeah, and hold on. How much is an Evo 9?
I know they're expensive. No,
And an RS3
lowest
is
I've seen them for
affordable.
Ford. Well,
And that's a reliable vehicle. I mean, affordable. What I'm saying is the Evo 9 is way more expensive than the RS3.
it is. It's more expensive than it should be. They're like
Way more
40
expensive
grand.
because of that. So,
Yeah.
so again, I think we got to give the audience a point here.
All right, we'll
All
give
right.
the audio.
And the last one on the list, you have the...
This is for drifting.
Okay, this is for drifting. So this is almost a podcast on its own. But
Yeah.
this goes back to what we were mentioning earlier. It's like...
S chassis versus the BMW 3 Series, and that
Yeah.
could be either the E30, E46, or E36.
Very fun fact.
What's the fun
I don't know
fact?
if I'll mention their name, but one of our customers, actually they own another shop not too far from here.
Oh yeah.
And his son drifts. And he's gone pretty... It's on the Instagram page. We've wrapped some cars for him. We wrapped
Okay.
the Sylvia for him. And he does drift competitions all over North America. And
Wow.
he's pretty good. Maybe we'll bring him on a podcast one day.
That would be awesome.
That'd be, yeah.
That would be
and
really
he's
cool.
gotten pretty high, and he's got a Sylvia. And then, anyways, he's come to us. We did a bunch of wrapping, and we did some other work to his car.
Yeah.
And then we convinced him to try a 335.
Uh-huh.
And he tried it, and he's not going back.
Really?
Yes.
Hold on. For what? For a drift car
For
or for
drift
daily?
car. For a
so
drift car.
he went from the Sylvia to the 335.
So this happened last winter, and I
Oh
know
my
he did all summer. He did a bunch of events in his 335 now, modified with control arms.
Yeah,
and all this
yeah.
kind of
All that
stuff.
stuff. Angle kit.
The power itself, he's like the 330 horsepower the car makes factory was enough for me to just go around the track and slide and have fun. Fun fact, and we'll get him on a podcast.
We're gonna have to get him on a podcast.
and we are gonna talk to him about it because it's interesting.
But yeah, the S chassis, that's a very interesting switch that he made, the switch from the S chassis.
And
to
I
the
don't
90.
even know if we're comparing apples to apples here. We're comparing a 90s vehicle with a mid to late 2000s.
It's true. It's completely different technology.
Different. Even if you were to take a stock S15, now all of a sudden it has 30-year-old bushings in it.
Yeah,
or
it's not gonna
25-year-old
be
bushings.
great.
Take a vehicle that has 15-year-old bushings in it. It's
Completely different.
Completely different
Yeah,
even
yeah.
factory. So
You have
maybe
to
it's not
rebuild the
apples
car.
to apples.
No.
You would have to go back to like a BMW 36 or even earlier than that.
Exactly.
Right? A 3 and I mean that's a chassis for drifting. So again, an S14 Sylvia.
Yeah.
How much is one of those?
They are overpriced considering.
By a lot.
You're right, and
Yeah.
they
And then
don't
you can
come
go
with a lot
to
of power.
an E9, like you have the E46. Anything before the E90 chassis though, it's. I know that there's a lot of people that love the E36 chassis, even over the E46 when it comes to drifting.
I would say in Europe, E36 chassis is
It
like
is, yeah.
king for
It
drifting.
is king, yeah. The only thing is, and it's maybe, and again, people spend a lot of money to modify them, and they love them,
Yeah.
have the passion, and good for them, of
But
course.
the thing, the
But
guys
the-
drift out there with like a 320
Yeah, I know.
and a 323. They don't even care about the power.
But if you go to the E90, that's the thing, they come twin
Yes.
turbo.
Yes,
Already
you get more
pushing
power.
330 horsepower. And
do you
we
like
go-
E90s?
Do I like the
Yeah.
E90s?
I couldn't tell.
No, yeah, a little bit.
A little bit, eh?
But you can buy for a couple $1,000s,
Yes.
and you can push 330
Proper
horsepower.
power.
You can push proper power, much
Yeah.
easier too. And again, on S14, Sylvia, like how much? I don't even want to guess. $40,000.
No, probably around 20, in between 20 to 30 if you get a really clean one.
20 to 30.
Yeah. If you want an SR21, which
I mean,
is
you
a
buy an
turbocharged
M3
one,
for that. It comes with factory LSD, well-balanced vehicle, big V8, amazing sound. That being said, thank you for watching, everybody.
I can't really argue with you on that.
Right.
There is a serious there's a serious discrepancy when it comes to
Danielle, let's tell everybody the truth. He loves European cars.
I do love European cars, guys. My own drift car is a 5 Series. It's a BMW. So,
But this was fun.
This was good, guys.
Okay.
Thanks for listening. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are, what you would choose if you had to choose between a European car or a JDM car. What do you think is better? Do you think a JDM car is actually more reliable than a European car?
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments, guys.
And
Thanks
follow
for
us on Instagram.
watching. Follow us on everything.